In this class, let us see about data management. So already in the offline class, we have came across with the introduction and other aspects of data management and its components. So a last part which is left over is the data entry system. So let us see about data entry. As the word data, you are very much familiar now, because during clinical trials, lot of data are generated. So these data are very much essential in order to get permission to put in the market, because all the regulatory agencies, they will depend on the high quality data. If mismatching happened with the data, then such clinical trials won't be worthful. So that the main pillar in the clinical trial is having a strong and evidence-based data. That's why a team called data management team will work simultaneously along with the clinical trial team in order to safeguard such issues. So let us see about data management team now. So the data manager, his communication and interferences we will see. As you know, like during clinical trials, case report forms will be there. So with the help of case report forms, usually the data will be written. So in different form it will be. In the form of paper also it may be. Traditional system it is writing in a paper, but nowadays we have electronic data entry forms also. With that also it can happen. So now overall this data communication team, so these people, so they will have direct access with the site of the clinical trial, or the investigator who is carrying out the investigation, because whenever any miscommunication with the data has happened, discrepancies, so during that time, so they will communicate with the investigators and any corrections are required so that they can achieve. Then other possibility like with the programmers, because here they will be depending with some softwares for entering the data, so thereby the program updates and all. So data management data manager will be doing it. Then other than coders, medical coders will be also working over, because a lot of the events, adverse reactions, whatever will observe, so that should be get coded. So medical coders with the help of standard dictionaries, so proper codings will be given so that data entry will be easier. And also safety matter also, because we know about SAE, serious adverse events may happen. So during that time also there should be clarification related to this, and any mismatch happened with the data, that also should be cross verified, so that he will be under touch with this matter also. So then other aspect, like whatever the data are getting generated, so it may be internal or external. Suppose external means it may be some of the laboratory data. So all the data should be get collected. Data acquisition is the work. Then other than this data team will be having some sealant, it's having a study team. With the help of that scientific verification will be done. And even for monitoring of a clinical trial, some monitor or even clinical research associates will be there. So they will be in touch with this data management team. So this is about the communication and interference, what we can observe. So now let us move on and let us see clinical data management activities phase wise. So now any clinical trial means in 3 phases we can make it up. One in the research level it is. So now this is the startup phase. So now it may be in the initial state when clinical trial once you have planned to start, and in between like conduct phase where the actual clinical trials is going on, and closed up phase when the clinical trial is completed. Now we are going to close it. So now overall up to here we can observe generation of data. So this data should be get stored. So now in the startup phase, what are the things we can observe? Main thing, they will be having a protocol. That protocol design will be done initially. This is only the thing they will be having. Depending on the protocol, case report forms they are going to make. A high quality case report form they should make, so that quality output they will get, because proper data they can collect with this. So this is the first thing. And database designing they are going to do, so that quality check can be done with the database design. and even editing and checking of such things will be done, so that at the end you will be having a sound database system. So it nowadays like computer based it is there, electronic based, or sometimes like traditional also some centers they may be doing, but nowadays very restricted. In the paper they used to write set the data, later they will start entering into the system. But if you are directly entering into the computer itself, it will become easier, because multi-center studies will be going on simultaneously. By sitting in one place, in one click they can come to know about the entire status of the trials. So now once the case report forms or database is activated, it's by computer system it may be, so then data entry will start once the clinical trials. So here what will happen is many time discrepancy will happen. I will be giving some example for discrepancy. This discrepancy means nothing but some of the confusions in the data entry or mismatching or something got wrongly entered. Such things will be observed of. Such data should be managed properly. So that how to manage means whenever doubt you are arising, so that queries will be sent to the investigator, so that investigator will re-verify it and is going to update the data. So data will be updated. So then other than this, as I told about some of the side effects or adverse effects what is got observed, for that medical terms should be given, because in the patient he may tell some symptoms. That symptom medically it should be get coded with the help of some medical dictionaries it can be achieved. So then with the help of this database, severe adverse effect anything is there means reconciliation should be done with the serious adverse events. So then other than after completion of these things, like the data is ready now, database is updated. So this database which got updated will go for internal auditing and external auditing. So with the help of this quality control department, so everything is fine. So then they are going to close the clinical trial. So they are going to lock it. Only in severe condition, whenever investigator sometime if they want to reopen it for some editing purpose or sometime periodic safety reviewing, if they come across with some of the side effects or adverse events, adverse drug reaction, so they will go for updating it. Otherwise the data will be locked. This is about the CDM activities in different phase wise. Now while starting up, you have seen like protocol design will be done with the requirement of the protocol. CRF designing can be done. This CRF may be either in the electronic form, case report forms, or in the handwritten paper manual form also it may be. So now database design will be made according to this, and validation or derivation procedures, everything will be get checked with the database. And once everything is done, then activated database they will be having, so that will be ready to accept production data. Once the database is ready, and then they can start entering in multi-center also. Now in a steady setup, if you see means many people will be working over it. It may be your job opportunities also. So now let us see what are the roles and responsibility of different people. Like we have CRF designers, case report form designers. During your project work also you made a database sheet. Similar way, each protocol they will make with the case report forms. So with the help of these case report forms, they can enter the data. It will be having same demographic details and what data they want to collect. Such things will be there. One snap I have with that I will show you in the next slide. So now CRF designers will design the case report forms as per the protocol requirement, and even database designers will be there. So they are going to design the database as per the protocol, or even case report forms and activate the same things, because sometimes like now softwares are also involved. Even programmers will be there, so program validation and derivation procedures and activate the same things, because they have a specified software that programming is required. Programmers are working in the team, and even we have a data manager who plays a major role to communicate between all the people who are working in the clinical trials. So now main work of data managers, review the CRF prior to the activation, because the success of clinical trial only depends on the data. If high quality data are there, means such research work easily it will get weightage and also approval. So that data manager will take more care, so that he is going to review the CRF prior to the activation, even test the database prior to the activation of such things, because the programmers they are going to activate such things. Even test-based data will be done by the database designers, but database manager will check everything. Even also he write the validity and derivation procedure and check the test. The same thing before everything get activated, because once get activated it will become difficult to edit also. Such things data manager will do. Not only this work he have, completely he is going to verify each and every document from the investigators, whatever they are going to send, and that will be even compared with the laboratory values also. So now in steady conduct procedures, we'll see like what are the procedures. Now activated database we have, because we know like how the database get activated. Now data entry will start. Her manual if you are doing means it is called as data entry. Her loading if you are doing means like externally, so with the help of computer in different areas, if they are doing it, it will called as a loading. So then there may be chance of discrepancy. Discrepancy means wrong data got entered. Something like it is identified from the data manager. So that what he will do means immediately he will put a query. He will arise a question and he will get back the information also. So safety data reconciliation they are going to do with the serious adverse effect or anything if come across, means reconciliation should be done. And severe adverse effect if it comes across means, I told you like some standard dictionary will be there. They are going to give a code related to that. Then if any discrepancy if observed, as I told, like query will be get generated, and that query will be get solution, resolution and update of the database will be done. Here the possibility like a manual checkup may be there, or QC with the help of programs they are going to check it. Anyhow, resolution as well as discrepancy we will be seeing in the next slides with some example. So steady conduct time, let us see roles and responsibility of each people over here. So data entry and data loaders we have, as I told, like manually if you are entering in case sheet files, so it's called as data entry. So data loading means electronic studies they are going to do with the help of some external data also they are going to enter it. External data usually some lab ECG reports, even subject diaries also it may be. Either it is called as data entry process or data loaders. So overall we got data now. So next we have with the data managers, they are going to identify and resolve any discrepancies, issues, queries to the site and try to resolve such things. Discrepancies I was telling, like some of the wrong information which got entered, something may be empty, they are not filled the things. Such things should be get clarified before passing it, because any empty data, wrong data sheets won't be considered, so that will be get rejected. In later stage if got rejected means it affects the clinical trial. That's why initially they will cross verify each and every sheet whether completely it is written, even a small signature is missed, time is missed, so then it will be get rejected. All the things they are going to check it. They are going to carry out the manual checkup, lab review and CRF tracking they are going to do. So then other than we have safety data managers, so perform the safety reconciliation by comparing the clinical database with the safety database, because somewhere if some serious adverse events have been reported, so it's the responsibility of data safety manager to cross verify it very clearly whether any causality or relation whether it's having with the study or not. So they may arise a lot of questions, queries will be sent, and they are going to get back the information, and at the end they are going to decide whether it should be get reported or not. Then other than we have dictionary coders, as I told, like medical terms should be given for the local side effects terms what the patient is using. For that, with the help of some diaries, medical dictionaries, they are going to code it. Example, medication and adverse events will be get coded by using standard dictionaries. So there's the work of coders. Now coming towards the data capture system, as a data management team, so their work is to check whether the collected data is very much reliable, whether efficiently the data have been collected or not, or whether the data collected is in compliance with the industry and the government regulation. Such things they are going to observe, because any mismatch happened with the data collected, or if the team failed to collect a particular data during the trial time, once again it is not possible to recollect the information. That's why like data capture team they are going to check such things. So now this data capture may happen in the paper data capture, or it may be electronic data capture, or it may be remote data capture. Remote data capture, the person who is collecting the data may be far away from the site, so that collectively he collects data in different places, and such data will be get preserved. So these are the three options of data capture. Main responsibility is to check data collected, whether it's reliable, efficient, and it is compliance with the regulation. Regardless, like it may be from a small single phase, first phase studies where minimal people are involved, or it may be a very complex phase of phase 3 where multi-center and many people are involved. Whatever it may be, the main thing, there is no difference. It may be a small scale study or a larger scale study. Data should be get collected according to the requirement. Now data cap team, they are going to prove such things. So now let us see about the data capture tools. As I told in the paper, it can be done, or maybe electronic possibilities are there, or it may be from the remote data capture system. So now coming with the paper, as we know, traditional system data is entered on the paper case report form, whereas in the electronic data is captured in electronic case report forms. And remote data entry capture system, the data is captured in the electronic case report form itself. So then coming with the paper, data entry associate will enter the data in the clinical database, whereas in electronic, investigators himself he can enter, because it's a time reduction will happen. In investigator himself will do it, but in a paper, like a separate team will be there, data entry team, so they are going to enter it. So in remote data entry system, this remote data entry system itself allows the researcher staff to enter the data directly at the medical setting, useful when a multi-center study is being conducted with many institutions. Here individual medical team people themselves they will do, but in electronic what will happen, the investigator he had to enter. So it's very much easier. Even the remote side, somewhere the physician who is conducting study, so he is going to enter by himself. So coming with the paper, no real time access to the data, so he can write by his own. But electronic means some website, it will be there, like real time access to the data. Coming with the remote data capture, like here also no web based, such that no real time access to the data. Remote data entry is very fast, very quick, and collection of data also very smoothly it will happen. This about the case report form, a demo snap we can observe. This is similar with the data collection form what we are using for the project work. So it will be having details of the patient. So some codes will be given for him. So here we can find about the demography details, or like what parameters are required in the protocol. Based on that, so they are going to make the CRF. So coming towards the CRF tracking, receipt and tracking of CRF, the first thing, like, because it will be having a number, with that the tracking will become easy. So the tracking procedure include verification of the arrival date and its acknowledgement and its progress through the process, and even checking of the quality and completeness of the document. So once the manually CRF comes, in the sense, first thing whether complete all the data are available or such things and all, it will be checked along with the receipt number. Even if some documents are missing, in the sense, immediately it will be informed. because this is what the data management team they are going to do, A to Z information. So they will be checking, suppose any data is missing, immediately they are going to inform to the team and they are going to get it arranged. They are going to track the missing documents also. Following things should be kept in mind while choosing a data entry method. The first thing is the selecting a method to transcribe the data, which is very appropriate and easier method. That method they are going to select for data entry, and determine how much data should be match the CRF, and also create a process to detect and deal with the problematic data. So I will be giving some example in the coming slide related to this problematic data. When such things occurs, means immediately that should be get detected. Even whenever wrong data enter, so that it should be get query with investigators, and editing wherever required, that can be done, so that credentiality can be achieved. Otherwise it will lose the credentiality, so that accuracy can be developed also. And even the quality control of the data entry process, such things should be bear in mind while entering the data, such that high quality data should be entered at the completion. So now let us see about the data entry and verification. Like data entry process is of two types. Like we have single pass data entry and double pass data entry system. So this single pass data entry system is having two types, like single entry with a manual review, single entry without manual review. Now coming with a single entry with a manual review. So now the person who is entering the data, so he will review, like any mistakes happened while entering, such things he are going to check. And in case like if you found any mistake while entering the data, because this data entry team is entirely different, they won't be in the research team. The research data what got entered into the clinical data management department, this person is going to check it. Any confusion occurs or any mismatch or wrong informations are there, so he will arise a question. So this is called as head up. So then he will get a rectification and he is going to enter. But it's having some drawbacks also, like it is a time consuming. So other than advantage in the sense like high accuracy data can be seen, so entry process will be very much slow because it takes a lot of time for querying enter. This is the head up. So next is a single entry without manual review. So now here the data entry will be done without arising any questions. Only a few things like numerical changes happened in the sense, so the computer only it won't allow to enter in such conditions, so they are going to cross verify. Other than so simply they will keep on entering the data what got given to them. This is called as heads down. It's having some advantage because there won't be loss of time, so that large number of data can be entered over here, and high accuracy cannot be observed because here manual reviewing won't be observed. So let us see about the double pass data entry. So now here double data entry with blind verification, where two people enter the data independently in different place they are going to enter. So now discrepancies between first and second entry are resolved by the third person based on the verification report on the records. So that failed data entry verification, because two people in different way if they enter, so discrepancies will be observed, so that the third person is going to solve it. So then other than double entry with the interactive verification, where second entry operator resolves discrepancies between first and second entry and is aware of the first entry values. So this is how, like by discussion, that will be clarified. This is called as a double entry with interactive verification. So let us see about the data review. So why data should be reviewed? To ensure complex data are reviewed and assessed to detect any discrepancies in the data. So now in many places we came across with a discrepancy. I told like something went wrong, or some data are mismatching, so incomplete data, such things and all, it will comes under the discrepancy condition. So now let us see what are the discrepancy examples. Some empty fields, something in the file they are not filled, so such data will be get rejected actually. So this is the empty field may comes under, so that they will ask to fill the empty fields. It may be any of the option. It may be, suppose gender, while selecting they are not marked it, and empty field should not be there. Or it may be in current range. Suppose the range, if it is voiding the range, say for example blood pressure, we know the normal value like 120 by 80 mmHg. Suppose instead of writing systolic pressure in the range like 200 or 500, some extra digit like out of range if they are mentioning, so that's in current range. So that's why like they will ask to cross verify once again. So this will come under the discriminatory examples. So one value greater or less than the equal to the other. In such condition also, it may be dates not in logical sequence, because some format will be there. So if it is not in the logical sequence, such things may happen. Sometime today the adverse event have started. Yesterday the drug was stopped because of adverse event, like that confusion happened. So that if it is not matching, or inconsistent header information, it's suppose heading may not be matching with the down thing, or any missing visits or pages, because someday the physician have visited but that day information is not there. So that discrepancies can be seen with this also, because each day information should be recorded. Visit not in a compliance with the protocol, because the protocol very clearly will be mentioning about the practical procedures will be contained. Suppose visit have done but it is not compliance with the protocol, so that will also arise discrepancies. So that data management team will arise a question. Even inclusion and exclusion criteria, if it is not met with the study participants or whatever, like inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria, beyond that something, if the data are there, means such things is considered as a discrepancy. So these are some of the example, like usually, so this mistake should not happen while doing the clinical trial. So this will be taken care by the data management team. So let us say about data review, edit and checks. So now here with the help of the computer, data will be get checked so that the accuracy and validity can be assured with the data. So validated data manually against the predetermined specification can be done. Manually also it can be done. Our primary use to check the efficiency data unique to the current study. You should make sure like what the primary data you have collected, whether it is efficiency or not. Such things and all will be done with the data. So what is done. Let us see about edit checks types. Already discrepancies was even. So even also like let us see like what checkups they are going to do, like range checks to identify inaccurate or invalid data and statistical outliers. Like inaccurate some values are there, like down I will be giving the example, to ensure that the data outside of a permitted range are to be clarified and verified. Example is the systolic blood pressure. The same example I told, like a range will be there 122 so and so, like if it is crossing 200 300 some data it is there, means it may be outside the critical range, so that editing is required in such condition. So then other than consistency checks will be done to highlight the area where the data in the database is inconsistent. For example, adverse event stop date is always after the adverse event start date. Today the drug got stopped. Suppose tomorrow's date you are showing like adverse event have started. So there consistency checks will help. Even presence check, like to ensure completeness of the data. Example, some sex is missing as in the data, so incomplete data are not considered. Or these are the edit checkups types they are going to do. Data queries, as I was telling, like whenever discrepancies will be seen, like queries will be sent. A query is an official communication to the investigative site to question on the discrepant data on the case report form. Subsequent changes in the data must be supported by signed data clarification form. So once so here is an example, you can observe section and visit module and all they are given, and what are the data's clarification requests with the description they are given. So now data clarification form will be made for this. So then with the signature they are going to send the reply along with the document which is required for the same team who has sent, that is the data management team. With the help of this the data query aspect, so they are going to update. Let us see about medical coding. As in the job description I told, like medical coding also. As we know, like during clinical trials, so many of the adverse drug reactions are also sometimes side effects also can be observed. So that should be uniformly coded. So in terms of medications, it may be the condition happened, or it may be adverse event, or medical history, medical procedure, diagnosis, disease condition with reference to known standard terms. It should be available. So now known standard means some dictionaries will be there. With the help of that we can maintain the standards. With the help of this we can go for minimizing the variability, because at the different site the studies may be conducted, so that we can minimize the variability, and also it can provide control and consistency, so that varieties of medical coding dictionaries can be used in order to achieve this. Say for example, a person got headache as a side effect. So now this headache, in the main class it comes under the pain in the medical dictionary. So it will comes under the pain. So in the pain section only, so like related to the headache, some numbers will be there. So that number will be given for the side effect related to the drug which got appeared. So this is the work the medical coding department they are going to do, so that it will become uniformity and it can minimize the variabilities what can be observed. So now different coding dictionaries are available. Now coding dictionaries example is MedDRA. It's called as Medical Dictionary for Regulatory Activities. It's a standardized dictionary of medical terminologies. This may be the one. Other than we have WHO ART drugs. That's the World Health Organization Adverse Reaction Terminology. This is also a dictionary, medical coding dictionary. This is ICD. We have International Classification of Diseases. FDA COSTAT, coding symbols for treasures of adverse reaction terms. With the help of any one of these dictionaries, so they are going to code it, so that many of the complication or confusions can be avoided by this. Now study closeout process. So now everything is completed. Now coding up to that we came across. So after completion, so the study should be get closed. Before closing, we should cross verify whether the documents what you got generated is complete, so that later it can be get freezed out. So now discrepancy management should happen. Now recently we have seen what are the discrepancies, that missing data, anything is there, that should be get clarified very neatly and it should be refilled. So then safety data reconciliation is required. So whenever serious adverse event, if it is observed, means the data entered in the clinical trial document as well as drug safety report, whether both are same or not, and you will be checking with the discrepancy, and overall you will be going to weigh the safety and risk also. Overall that the safety data reconciliation will be done, and along with this what the side effect observed, so that medical coding dictionaries will be used for coding. This is called as medication coding. And any discrepancy came means like query will be get generated, then we are going to resolution of the query what you got, or you are going to update the database what you got. After getting the information query, you are going to update the database. So then here there are possibility like manual checkup you can go with QC, or even CRF tracking can be done, because now all will be done remotely, so that it can be get checked. After completion of everything, like verification is done now completely, and then we can go for database lock, and later it will be get freeze. So here the clinical trials will be get completed. So now let us see what are the conditions are required for declaring clean file and database is locked. Now let us try to understand what is this clean file. Clean file means that the data generated from the clinical trial is clean and ready for database locking or freezing. Now everything is very much clear and they are 100% sure to go for freezing it. Such type of file is called as clean file, so that we can go for declaring it as a clean file. Clean file can be declared for the study when all the required data management activities as per the data management plan have been completed and documented appropriately, so that the data management team also will agree. So all the data are very much accurate. So this is a procedure which is done at the end of the clinical trial after the last query is resolved and prior to database locking or freezing. So this is the end stage. This procedure ensures the following points are met. First thing, they will make sure that data is complete so that no missing data are observed. Data is consistent, data is very accurate, and data is reliable, so that high quality data is got generated from the clinical trial. This is the conclusion from declaring said things. So now checklist for database lock. Now you are going to for locking it, so that what are the necessary documents are required. So now all expected CRFs are entered, case report forms are entered. All case report forms have been verified by the clinical research CRS associate, clinical research associates, whether they have verified it or not, because signatures are required from them. All data discrepancies are solved. Already we are talking about the discrepancies. Final validation are excluded with no remaining or unresolved discrepancies. Completely it is done, and all lab data, external and internal, are loaded and reconciled. All lab normals are present, loaded and completed. Loaded here is nothing but the word entry. Adverse event coding is complete and approved by the medical data management. All other medical coding is complete. Even the statistician also confirms that the data meets the previously agreed acceptance criteria. Even the statistician and the clinical data management team agrees that the database is ready for locking. All approvals are obtained on the database lock, freeze, unfreeze approval form. All these things can be observed, because sometimes unfreezing may also be required whenever periodical review says some side effects with the drug or ADS. In future, if it comes also, data should be updated. That's why these provisions will be made. So now here we can conclude saying that data management team only plays a key role for freezing the things. So now let us see about the last thing, that is the unlock scenarios. Whether a database can be unlocked. And the answer is done. When we can go for unlocking, because already we have spoken about the end stage, that is the freezing. Unlocking of the database is carried out only if corrections to the critical errors, such as some adverse events happened or medication and lab reports, anything are required, means in such condition we are going for unlocking it. For example, updates to the serious adverse event data may require edits to the data. So in such condition, data will be unlocked. Even a request to unlock the study usually requires a review of the detailed session by higher level management. If higher level management want to unlock it, so that it may be permissible. Even appropriate quality control checks or review and approval will be required for unlocking, like proper reasons and reviewing procedure will be carried out, and after getting complete permission from this team, so they will go for unlocking it. So let us say about the quality assurance team. So what's the work of them? Means they are going to ensure whether the trial performed is according to the good clinical practice or not, because what the data generated also, it should compile the good clinical practice guidelines. So this is the work this quality assurance team they are going to check, because whatever the data and the procedure followed, so that should meet all the regulatory requirement. So this they are going to do. So how they are going to check this? Means it involves inspections and audits. So inspection is by the government agencies, health authorities and the drug regulatory authorities. Auditing by the pharmaceutical device companies, CROs and others. Let us see about different types of auditing. Like we have internal audit, like first party audit, it's also called as. It's carried out by service provider, like audit department, to ensure implementation, maintenance and improvement of the system audited. So now here the internal team will be there with the help of them. So this audit will be carried out to check just the implementing maintenance of the system is whether properly done or not. So next, other than customer audit is there, this is a second party audit is called as, carried out by the CLIN to evaluate the service provider performance and compliance for the standards. So it's a second party, he is going to check and he is to confirm. So then other than we have a external audit which is called as a third party audit to check regulators or external auditors contracted by the sponsor to ensure implementing and documenting according to the standard. So this usually done by some regulators or some external auditors there. So they are going to check whether documentation is done according to the guidelines or not. So now let us see about the benefits of the internal audits. So audit of process to identify systemic problems, identify the root of the problem and plan for correction and preventive actions. With the help of audit it will be done. Periodic auditing will be there. Even review of employee training records and also compliance with SOPs and regulatory requirements. So these all the things they are going to make sure. Even documented evidence that quality control was appropriately conducted on output of each internal process. So what the document is generated, whether it is according to the quality control requirement or not, everything will be checked in the internal auditing so that the data quality will be improved. Even it can achieve better allocation of some resources also, because if it is not according to the good clinical practices immediately after getting audited, so better allocation of resources also will be done. So here we end with the clinical data management.